Hello, hello, everybody. We are
What's up,
glad
guys?
that you're here with us. Kirk, talk again. I want to make sure your levels are good.
Check, check. Hello. Hello, guys.
All right.
Welcome to the show.
I think we're good.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we are the Podcast Discovery Show, and we're going to talk about random discoveries that we have this week. One is a podcast, and the rest is other shenanigans. We wanted to go live because our intro music ended, but we have a couple more things to knock out. Oh, you just need to add your Todd's topics? Is that what it was?
Yep, gotta do the Todd's topics. Line out the stuff for. You already have your part in there. Like
Yeah. I
what to
put my stuff in
call.
there. And let's just put Johnny in the middle. So
Okay.
everybody buckle up. We have a caller who has, how long has this been going on? How long has the
It's
Johnny
been
call?
since we started live. Well, pretty much since we got the phone line.
Yeah, since we
basically.
got our Discovery hotline, which we need to remember to put in there. Let me see if that it's on here. Yep, it is. So our number's on there. So we have a Discovery hotline, and anybody can call us and leave a discovery in our voicemail, and then we will play it so everyone can hear it.
It doesn't have to be Discovery, as you'll
Yeah,
learn from Johnny.
we have learned that we have a fan who likes to call in and tell us his cooking tip of the week, and he's great at making up jingles. He has a jingle for basically everything. Hey Twigs, thank you so much. It's very luscious. It's very luscious Delano. But yeah, he likes to call in a lot, and we forgot that he had a call last week, so we have two calls.
Yeah, we missed it.
Two calls from Johnny that are going to be played during Todd's this week, and he's a character.
That's a way to put it. He's funny.
Yeah, but we're talking about a show this week about Coco the Gorilla. Is the podcast? Well, it's not. The entire podcast isn't about it, but that's what this one's about.
Meat shower.
Meat shower. I'm already terrified of what that is.
We may have already talked about this one before.
So I was looking up. I wanted to always have something that we could talk about at the very beginning while we're kind of getting ready and warmed up, and I found a question that I actually had forgotten about that I like asking people. And this is also for you, chat Twigs. I see you cozying up, so this is for you too. I need to hear a response. The question is, what are you proud of, but never have an excuse to talk about? It's a chance to brag, but I want to know something that you're proud of.
I don't know what's yours because I can't think of anything.
I don't know. I'm not really proud of myself.
I think that's my problem. Zach, what are you proud of me about? And I'll tell you what I'm proud of you about.
What am I proud of you about?
I'm not good at doing this for myself. I think that might be an issue, I guess.
I am proud of you because you are a much better streamer than I am. When you're on your solo ones, it's great.
Really? I didn't think that, but I appreciate that.
Twigs,
It's hard to see things when they're better.
in high school, got a best of show in an art show.
Nice.
What was your artwork that you won with?
And Zach, I'm proud of you because you are the best at wording emails.
I'm moderately proud of that myself.
You are the best at wording emails. I'm always like, hey, Zach, look at this email. Tell me what I can say differently that doesn't make me look like an asshole. And you're usually pretty good at getting us to that. Nice.
It is a developed skill. At the last startup I worked for, there was I would say 10 plus times where people would send emails and piss everyone off. And so I had to literally go through with everybody that was working for us and okay, here's how you need to do this instead. But yeah, it definitely is something that you kind of get used to when there's a bunch of fights. Twigs, what was this drawing of? 4 by 5 feet? That's gigantic. Wait, do you
That
still
is.
have it?
There's no way she still has it. It's so big. It'd be cool if you did.
That would be cool if she did.
Like in the attic somewhere.
The county bought it.
I guess that's better.
Famous artist all the way from high school. That's amazing.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, I have one that's random, and I'd never get to talk about it because it's super random. When I was in 5th grade, they had a writing contest for Veterans Day. So we just passed Veterans Day, so I felt like it was topical. And I wrote a poem in 5th grade, and I won out of like the school, and they had me read it at Veterans Day. And I don't know why they did it here, but it was at a funeral home, which is weird. But literally, I read this poem that I wrote about veterans when I was in 5th grade, and they had a 7-gun salute afterwards.
Dang.
It was quite an experience. I didn't know what was happening. And I was also super awkward and shy. So I was probably just looking terrified, and then guns started going off. So it was, I'm sure it was an experience for everyone.
It's pretty good.
But yeah, I wanted to bring.
I went to the science fair once.
You went to the science fair? What was your project?
I don't remember. We did a bunch of them because when I went to elementary school, they had one for every year, like a different. It wasn't like a science fair where you have your own thing. It was like every grade would have its own competition, and then you would represent the school against the county. And you'd go to Mosey, the Museum of Science and Industry.
Yeah.
And then you would have like this county-wide competition. And I got to go to that once, but I didn't win. That's my school story of things that I did but I didn't win anything.
I didn't win much in school either. It was not a winning time for me, perhaps. All right, so are you feeling set?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Johnny's calls.
Johnny's calls plugged in.
Oh boy.
Got my stuff. Got a creepy Florida man story. Did you find it? Oh, you haven't found it yet.
What, the picture of your artwork?
She said she must hunt it down.
Yeah, no, I agree. You must hunt it down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to start off with the podcast Discovery Show. We're going to talk about a show called You're Wrong About, which is a really cool show. I really liked it. I think Kirk probably did too. It seems like right up his alley. So hold on one second. We're going to start recording, and we're going to launch right into this thing. But yeah, thanks everybody for checking out the stream. We appreciate
it. She screen grabbed a picture of you and your luscious hair. Sorry. I'll be quiet now.
Twigs, you're not allowed to screen cap the stream. All right, let's see. It always does this weird thing where the video moves just slightly and drives me insane.
When you press record?
Try and line it up. Dang it. It's like seriously like barely off, but it bothers me.
I'm proud of your hair tonight, Zach.
All right, I'm going to get a hat, you two. It's clearly distracting. Hey, I did it. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, we have a minute, so I think we're set.
Somewhere in there's silence.
Yeah.
I haven't used the silence in a very long time. There has to be like a lot of these mics are good, and the program we're using is a lot different.
And our location's a lot better for recording. Hold on once. Actually, no, Will's not here right now. I'm good. I forgot he was out. I was like, I need to go lock my door so he doesn't break in here while we're trying to do this.
All right. Welcome to the Podcast Discovery Show, the podcast that's about other podcasts, where every single week we have a book club style discussion about a podcast we recommended the week before. And at the end of this episode, we're going to recommend a brand new show, and we're going to listen to that one, and we'll talk about that one next week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach. And this week we're talking about a show called You're Wrong About. And each week two reporters actually break down a topic that you think you know a lot about, but actually there's a lot of stuff you didn't know about. And the episode that we're covering is called Coco the Gorilla. Probably, I think it's fair to say, the most famous gorilla.
Did you know a lot about Coco the Gorilla? I did not know a lot about.
I didn't know a
I
lot
just
about all of it.
Tangentially knew a lot about it. You know
I've
what I
seen
mean?
the video with Coco and Mr. Rogers, and I've seen the video with Coco and Robin Williams, and then I heard about the sign language. But no, I didn't know a ton about. I know a lot more now.
Yeah, I do know a lot more now as well, and I did know a little bit about some of the ins and outs. Now looking back at I didn't know that it was all the same gorilla. I think that's what happened. Is like there was multiple different stories. I didn't know it was one gorilla. Um, But first of all, talking about the show, it's funny that you brought this show because I've listened to this show as well, and I wanted to bring it. I just didn't. I hadn't found the exact episode that I wanted to recommend yet. Um, and I'm glad that you found one. And this is a great one. There's so much to talk about. Like
There
literally,
is.
go listen to this episode because there seriously is some stuff that we're gonna miss because there was a lot to talk about. Like,
Yeah, and that is one of the
it got
favorite
deep
things.
too. Like, it's not just like
No, it's
shallow, talking about a gorilla. It got deep.
it's one of my favorite things about how we have formatted our show is we always hope to be a companion piece. We hope to be the book club for podcasts, not listen to us instead of them. We would love for people to check out You're Wrong About because it was I had a great time listening to it, and I learned a ton about Coco.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's hosted by Michael Hobbs and Sarah Marshall. Mike, he's a writer for the Huffington Post, and Sarah is a writer as well. She's been featured. She does a bunch of different pieces, and she's been featured in The Believer, BuzzFeed, The Baffler, and a few more really interesting websites that do a lot of stuff like that. And mainly in the genre of like true crime type stuff.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
I looked at some of her things that she'd done, and she's writing a piece right now. She's technically doing research for a book that she's going to write on the Satanic Panic.
Gonna be so
like
good.
Was it the 80s?
I think it was the 80s because it was like
Somewhere around
D&D.
there? Yeah, it's
Everybody was freaking out about D&D.
okay. There's a podcast that I started listening to because it's true crime. I think it was a Wondery podcast, and it was about this. I couldn't do it, man. It was real dark because of so much stuff that went on. It was crazy. Like,
That makes me even more curious.
I did not realize how crazy that whole thing got. Anyway, that's not what the subject is this week. But maybe one day we'll talk about it because it is fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to me that became like a whole thing, is like Satanism taking over the kids. It's really a pretty crazy concept and a crazy type of things to get into a panic
I forget
about.
what the name of the show was. I'll look it up. But literally, it was about a son turned in his dad for being a warlock or something and like doing all these horrible things, and he never even did it. It was literally like brainwash the kid from TV and things and panic, and that's what became. And it's a crazy story. But so this is not about that. This is about Coco the gorilla. And I will say they started talking about women in primatology, and I had never thought about it. It's just one of those things. But when I think of the study of gorillas, I think of women. I think of Jane Goodall.
Yeah, Jane Goodall exclusively for me. Like,
that's the one that I think of. Yeah, I grew up. I mean, that's what I grew up seeing on, like, I don't know, probably like Sesame Street, and I remember watching National Geographic and stuff like that as a kid. And she was the jam, early 90s. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, no, she was very famous and rightfully so. She did a lot of crazy work. I'll never forget that. There's that video of her. They released a chimp, and it came back and gave her one last hug before it ran off into the jungle.
It's just so cute. But yeah, and first of all, I love their humor. It's very dry. It's very sarcastic. Like,
It
it's
is.
like the most sarcastic humor. It's a little bit dark in a lot of ways, but it's it's great.
It
Um,
really is funny. But they, like you said, they do get into deep topics throughout. So it's not a one note show at all. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of stuff to like.
yeah, I guess they talked about Reading Rainbow and Mr. Rogers, and I guess that's probably I watched all those things when I was a kid, so I probably saw this stinking gorilla on all those shows.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I think it became like a thing, but I think it became a thing, like a big thing, right before it would have hit like our consciousness. You know?
yeah,
So
we
like
maybe
right
saw it in
before,
reruns.
yeah, it was right before we wouldn't have grown up like this, where we were all constantly aware of Coco the gorilla. It would be our equivalent would be Airbud. So
Come
that's a
on,
what is that not the same?
ours would have been Shamu.
That's worse. That's
I
worse
mean,
than
it's not
Airbud.
better, but it's a real animal.
Airbud's a real animal.
Okay,
It's not CGI.
you know what I mean. It's a
Kirk thinks
garbage
Airbud
movie.
is fake.
Fake news. Airbud's
Airbud 100% can dunk. I saw it with my own eyes.
fake. I think they're still making those movies.
I think they are. Like 47 Airbuds later.
um, but so they talk about Coco's relationship with the trainer Penny, and
To me, that's
also like,
the story in this one. To me,
right?
that's the craziest part.
Yeah, it's they had very very strong bond. Like so, I don't know. You could tell like they really cared about each other. It seemed like both of them, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and when they talked about all the things that Coco could do, like the words that she had made up, or like two words put together, like uh, and the apes being able to, they said she could rhyme and all
Yeah,
these
they
other
said she
things. And
liked rhymes. Like
at
her kitten.
first,
Her kitten
yeah.
was named Allball, and they said that's because she liked rhymes.
So that's the way it started. They talk about all the things that Coco could do, and other gorillas. They talk about Wachu was another gorilla that was able to do stuff. He's the one that did the water bird. He
Yeah.
saw a duck, and he made a word up. He made two words, which is genius. I mean, if this is the way it worked, then water bird. It's a bird on the water.
Yeah.
So it kind of blew my mind. I'm not gonna lie. Halfway through this episode, I'm like mind blown. That's amazing. Uh, they did talk about how Coco could lie. I thought that was fascinating.
Yep.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, no, Coco lying was great. What? She broke a sink, right?
It was something like that.
She
It was
broke like a
something-
sink in her bathroom, and they said, "What happened to the sink?" And she pointed at someone else.
She's like, no, he did it. That was great. Um, and then they talk a little bit about Coco's fixation with nipples.
They do talk about that, and that comes up again. But yeah, apparently Coco would request to see nipples whenever she was around them. And
This is one of those things that I remember seeing in an article, and I didn't know it was Coco. I didn't know it was this same gorilla. I just remember hearing about, famous gorilla loves nipples. It's like,
famous
what?
gorilla loves nipples, and you didn't know who it was. You're like, I don't know. It could be any gorilla. King Kong.
So like all these celebrities would like come see Coco because this gorilla could sign language, and it would always like want to see their nipples.
That
I think that
yeah, I wasn't really prepared for that part of the story when they started talking about.
I'd heard like a quote from not this episode, but another that when we talked about it, probably on the other Discovery show. It was like, this animal has seen more nipples than anybody in Hollywood's ever seen of celebrities or something like that.
And okay, here's the complicated part of all of this. The theory originally was that, and this is also, there's also a layer of sadness here, because this was a gorilla that was taken from the wild and was never around another gorilla. They even said towards the end of this episode that there's a chance she wasn't aware that she was a gorilla, because she had always been around humans. She had never been kind of in a natural environment. She'd never been around other gorillas. And so there's that. But one of the things that was a theory beforehand, and we'll get into kind of where this all changes, but the theory beforehand was she wasn't ever around her mother. She was essentially like nursed by handlers and by humans. And so they
Mm-hmm.
thought there might be some kind of a nipple fixation because of that, because she missed that part of her youngness, her childhood. Is there? I guess it's childhood for an ape still. I don't know. But that was the theory. But yeah, they get into that. But then they start getting into maybe we should look at what's happening with the different lens with Coco,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when this show, to me, like got crazy interesting because it just keeps going deeper and deeper. Um, so first of all, there was someone named what was his name? Herb
Herb
Terrace.
Terrace.
Herb Terrace was like, Coco cannot actually speak to you. Coco is essentially sitting down for a treat. You have put her in a situation where when she responds to you in the way you want her to, you give her something. It's a treat reward situation. And Coco doesn't speak on the level of like humans, you know. And then they also got into the anatomy of it, where apes physically cannot speak like humans.
Yeah, they talked about how that's where the idea for sign language came from was, you know, they can't actually speak. They won't be able to speak like a human because of their what was it?
well, their vocal cords, and
Yeah.
they can't control their breathing. One thing that's dropped in here all willy nilly and didn't say anything else about it, but was crazy, is that humans apparently are able to subconsciously calculate how long you need to be able to hold your breath for that sentence and take that much breath. And apes can't do that. So it makes like conversation not something that apes can do. And so there's a lot of literal physical restrictions on apes being able to speak actual English. Even though there was one of these, they talked about a bunch of different experiments that people were running. This was like a thing at the time where there was all these experiments with trying to get apes to,
Oh, this was a thing. It seems like
yeah, and
in the late '80s.
yeah, and it's just wild. But they had one experiment that was canceled quickly, obviously. But they had one experiment where literally they adopted a young chimp and they raised it the exact same way as they raised their child. So they had a toddler and a young chimp, and they tried to raise them simultaneously as if there was no difference to see if that would make the chimp more human like. But what it ended up doing is making the human more monkey like, and then it was done. They were like, okay, our kid's starting to act like a chimpanzee, so we're gonna need to bail on this. So they ended up bailing on that one. But there was a whole bunch of these experiments, but then Herb Terrace comes in and he's like, no, all this is fake, none of this is happening, and he got himself a chimp and was just essentially trying to prove that it's nonsense. When they're talking, it's not a thought, it's nonsense. It's like they know symbols that they can do with their hand, but there's nothing more to it.
They're just doing a stream of just random symbols that you've taught them, and they're hoping that the combination that they do it in will get them what they want, which is, you know, a treat or praise or a toy or something like that. And at first, I'm like, oh, come on, you know, you're just trying to poop on everyone's parade. You know, this is awesome. And then they actually started explaining it, and they had the audio of some of the stuff that Penny had done with Mr. Rogers and stuff like that. And it did almost seem like, okay, this gorilla is just like sign languaging just random stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, she means this when she
Yeah,
says
the fact
this.
that there was like a translator there that was explaining what she actually meant makes it seem fishier. But at the same time, she was able to be like, I think with Mr. Rogers, she's like talking about his cufflinks, but she knows that he had cufflinks on. So it's one of those things where they were so focused on what exactly they wanted to prove. You know, they wanted to prove that Coco could have a conversation with you. You know, that they could. It was thinking like a human, and it wasn't necessarily doing that. But then there was a level of communication there that was proven by all of this. That was pretty crazy, even once you know all of this.
Yeah, no, it was crazy, and they talk a lot about sign language in general in this podcast. There's so many layers to the show that we can't even really get into. They talk about eugenics and the people that started all of this kind of stuff and crazy things that they thought and horrible things that they said. And basically, and it was funny because this show is notorious for like ruining something for you. You know, it's like, oh, great. Now you're going to ruin Coco for us? Like, no, no, no. We're not going to ruin Coco. We're just going to ruin all of the humans around Coco.
And that really is the effect. That really is what happens.
Coco's awesome.
Coco's amazing.
But everyone around her, I did like Penny. I will say that. I think Penny had a great.
I think Penny cared too much, I think is the problem. I think,
okay, I could give you that.
Because, okay, in the end, she was sued for the nipple stuff too. Because apparently she would come in and be like, "Oh, Coco's tired of seeing my nipples. How about I'll turn around, you show her your nipples." It's like, that's a weird thing to do. And then like they're all like, she also was so focused on trying to make it like one way that she almost like ruined her own research. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they talked about that, and I will say that's the, you know, one of the big issues with this kind of research is, and they even talk, it's a dichotomy to get a gorilla to be trained and do these kind of things in general. You have to have a very strong bond and relationship with it. To be a scientist and to get data from a gorilla, you cannot have that strong of a bond and that kind of a relationship with an animal. So it's like this, I don't know, it's this.
Yeah, it's really tough because also Herb Terrace, it was later found out that he they said he literally let his chimp's name was Nim. They let Nim smoke weed, they let Nim drink, and then Nim just stayed in a cage all day and was handled by 60 different volunteers is what he says.
Sounds horrible.
And so like it wasn't something where he was bonded to any of them. So if that theory is true, where they have to be closely bonded to someone to really communicate, Nim was never closely bonded enough to communicate. So it's like it's all over the place. But then then you get to kind of the thing that ruins the people of it is all of them kind of mismanaged this to the point where it's just kind of bad for the animals. Like there was all that weird stuff about Penny, like the zoo wanted Coco back and then she resisted, and like there was all that. Nim, Herb Terrace's chimp, ended up going to like a roadside zoo.
Yeah, like, they said like Tiger King style.
Honestly, all of this kind of reminds me of Tiger King a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's a little,
which is not a good thing.
It is very not a good thing. I have decided because of that show, if anybody really loves tigers to the point where they like want to like own a tiger, I don't want to be around them too much.
We made the decision when we were watching. We're like, the more you like tigers, the more crazy you are. It seems.
Yeah. It does, like, okay, because don't get me wrong, tigers are amazing animals. Gorillas are amazing animals
in general.
Yeah, no, but I don't want them to be at my house. I don't want one. I don't want to like. I mean, I guess no, I don't want to pet one after seeing that show, and that's how they like abuse them, and that's part of the whole. I don't want to pet one. So like, if you are really into tigers that much, it feels like you're going to be on Tiger King, and that's not good.
Now, I do have a question. Like, I'm curious, and I will fully admit that we may be walking into a little bit of controversial territory. What do you feel about having animals in captivity? Like,
it's tough, you know,
like a zoo or
and I get why people don't like zoos. You know, I understand it. I do understand it. Because in the end, the optimal place for them to be is in their natural habitat. But then there are some animals that literally are only not extinct because of the conservation efforts of zoos.
Mm-hmm.
And there's breeding programs in zoos that have helped maintain species. And there's ways that zoos can do as much as they can. And a lot of times those are rescues at zoos. It's not like they went out to the wild and trapped a tiger and brought it over here. As we saw in Tiger King, there's thousands of people just selling tigers around. There is more tigers.
I had no clue how many random tigers were just like all over the U.S.
There is a crazy amount more tigers in the United States than there are in the wild. And not at zoos, in like random people's yards. You know what I mean? So it's not like something where every zoo is doing some weird procedure to try and get these animals. A lot of times it's rescues. But yeah, obviously, optimally, they'd be in the wild, and we wouldn't destroy their habitat, and they could live and be an animal like they should be.
I don't know. I mean, I've always I'm kind of where you are. Like I understand why people don't think that animals should be. I think that there should be a very deliberate effort to make sure that the habitat that you're making in the zoo is as close to a habitat that it would be like in the wild as possible. But like a lot of these animals, they live longer in captivity, and they're they're not wild anymore. They're being fed and stuff like that. I don't know. I've always had this weird. I I feel torn in this thought process because
Yeah.
I've thought about both sides as well. And I don't know where I stand, to be honest. I love zoos. I like going to the zoo, but I also like animals, and I think they belong in the wild. You
Yeah,
know
I'll
what I
say
mean?
I'll say this. There's definitely like there's differences, there's because roadside zoos are also like that's what I'm saying is I feel like it's more of a nuanced issue than just like zoo or no zoo because if
Yeah.
you watch Tiger King, they call themselves a zoo.
Nope.
That is not a
Not that.
zoo.
That's
That
not
is
what I
not a
mean.
zoo. We're
No.
talking about an actual zoo with an enclosure and them having like activity and stuff. And like I said, I would prefer them to be like a rescued animal that needs somewhere to go or like a conservation effort. But obviously, in the end, a nature preserve or some kind of a sanctuary would be better, because then you take out it's monetized. You're literally just doing it to save the animals. Because I think that there's even if I remember correctly, there's a gigantic elephant sanctuary in Florida, but you can't go.
Really?
You can't go. It's not like a thing like that. They just have a ton of land, and they essentially take in like retired circus elephants. Although we should be nearing the end of where that's even a thing. Elephants
Yeah,
live
'cause I
for a
mean
really
it's
long
done.
time,
It's
but
done.
but
The
yeah.
circus is over. I did watch it right near the end.
Oh, did
It
you?
was definitely a lot different than what I remember when I was a kid. I mean, it blew my mind as a kid, like it really did. And I just feel like it's the world's different now. It's everyone's not. There's YouTube. It's
Yeah.
like
No,
you
there
know,
is that. You don't have to like your first experience seeing an elephant doesn't have to be like in person. You can see that on YouTube and you can watch them in their natural habitat. But yeah, no, it's this crazy thing because Coco, all of it was super interesting. They were trying to prove that she could talk, but what they ended up proving was she could communicate on a level that was much more sophisticated than what was assumed. But because of the work that Herb Terrace did, it basically shut down all
it
of this.
destroyed.
It shut down all of the research, like all of the money, all of the opportunity, just shut it down. Which honestly, it doesn't sound like any of them were in like a prime condition because
I mean,
okay,
even Penny, it didn't sound like was like
it's not great. That's
Coco was in a great scenario.
what did they call that show on Discovery? There was one about like dangerous pets. You know what I mean? I can't remember what it was called.
I don't know.
It might have been something like that. Was it Fatal Attractions?
Sounds
I
like
don't know.
that sounds like a Discovery.
It would be a
Channel
great show if that's not the title. But the problem with apes and the problem with Herb Terrace's ape is they bond, but then once they get to a certain age, they become extremely violent and territorial. Like Herb's chimp was apparently mauling all of the people that were coming in there, so they had to send it to the roadside zoo or whatever.
I heard chimps are like very dangerous.
Chimps are like
way
4
more
times
dangerous
stronger
than
than
you
humans.
think.
Yeah, chimps are like 4 times stronger than we are because they're like bulk muscle.
All muscle.
Yeah,
It's just
just
all
pure
muscle.
strength, no dexterity, really. We have like fine motor dexterity and stuff like that, but theirs is strength. So yeah, it's not a great idea to have a wild animal that should be in the wild in your house or around a bunch of people all the time. So there was this whole layer of everything they were talking about. All of this was kind of like the shine on this rotten apple. Underneath everything was kind of this layer of like, it kind of makes me not feel great. Even though like Coco, what she was like doing and everything was, because she was super gentle. You can see like the videos of her like just petting her kitten and stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
that's so cute. I mean, I
she's
never
so
even saw
gentle.
that. But to think about a gorilla with a little kitten, it makes my heart get bigger.
Yeah, no,
thinking about
she was super gentle, and it was like even with her with Robin Williams, like you're looking at a very very large animal that was just very gentle and very like a sweet animal, but there was also like the humans interacting in a way where they shouldn't have been. But all of this is because of the crazy story that these people on You're Wrong About told. because I was not expecting to understand this depth of what was happening, learn about
Yeah.
ape research and learn about all of the subtext on this stuff, because it was something that I knew who Coco was, but I didn't know any of this. And so it was crazy to kind of go through this journey with them putting this story out. You can tell they're writers because they do like
Yeah.
reveal it in a way that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about women in science. They talked about eugenics and like racist
Yeah, we didn't even
thoughts and
get into
thought
the sign
processes and
language
stuff at the
stuff.
beginning, and sign language stuff, like the whole layer of like. And I listened to a pod. I think it was 99% Invisible podcast about sign language, and that story is nuts. Like it's crazy. They treated people horrible if
Yeah,
they.
there's a crazy story about like just sign language. But you know what? Let's leave that one. Check out their show. It's great because seriously, there is so much more to like sign language and this show than you would ever have thought. I'm surprised. I wonder if they've done a standalone on just sign language.
Probably because it is a crazy story. Um, who did they talk about? They talked about some, I think, politician or famous person that was like very much against people learning sign language, and they would like tie kids' hands behind their backs and stuff so they
Yeah,
couldn't
there's
learn.
a
It
lot
was
of weird stuff with the
just
sign language.
crazy,
I
man.
never
It's
would have
just crazy.
guessed that there would be, but there is.
Well, all right. No, it was a great recommendation. Great show. So much to talk about. I mean, like so many things.
Yeah, there was.
More than we could ever even think about touching. But that's what we love. Is we love to find a show that makes you think, and it made us think about a lot of different things, uh, and including like where we stand on certain things, like zoos and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Because I was thinking about that while listening to this. I'm like, what do I think about that? Because I don't really know if I've given a lot of thought about it. I love going to the zoo, but I really hate Tiger King. Just like so.
That is not a zoo. That does not count.
All right, so this week's this dang it, mecharodation. What are we at? 28. Oh, perfect. What is this? Oh man,
What?
that's horrible.
Oh,
That sounds like something the Nazis would do.
it does.
Although I'll say that sounds like something science would have done back then. That's crazy. We did crazy stuff. They had one about that Tuskegee one, and I'm curious, but that one's just so dark, dude. It's
Yep,
so
it
dark.
is.
I don't think I can do it. I already listened to a podcast about it once. I don't think I can listen to it about it again. It's just so bad. All right. So that brings us to this week's recommendation, and I've got one, and we actually found them through. We did a small ad campaign, and we were looking for other podcasts that kind of seemed in line with us to do an ad for us, and they reached out to us, and they did an ad for us, and it's called The Fantastic History of Food. And their short episodes are like 15 minutes to 20 minutes long, so I'm going to recommend two.
Nice.
The two that I'm going to recommend is Three Tales of Cheese, from Egyptian mummies to Uruguayan cannonballs, and episode 19, Tomatoes Were Blamed for Witchcraft and Werewolves.
Oh, nice.
It's a mix of like history but it's always like based in food, and it's great. And the one about the cheese, there's a discovery in there that I actually had as a discovery that I was going to bring on the other Discovery show, and I have it on my list, but I'm not going to bring it now because now we'll be talking about it.
Sounds
It was a
good.
good one. They have some really cool episodes. They have ones about, the newest one is Al Capone once ran a soup kitchen, which I did know about that. The world's most dangerous and illegal cheese. When drinking coffee could get you decapitated. By the way, I listened to this series. I had no idea that coffee was basically thought to be like a drug for a long time. Like even in the US, but mainly before that, there was like alcohol was legal and coffee was illegal.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I don't know. But so listen to the fantastic history of food, and we will talk about that one next week. And remember,
There's always more to discover. Okay, I'm going to stop this. We're going to go be right back for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to do the other Discovery show. Thanks for hanging out. We will be right back. All right, we are back, and we're ready to talk about other discoveries.
Yeah. By the way, thank you guys for hanging out. We really
Yeah,
appreciate it. It means
we really do.
a lot. Like it really does. We look forward to this night every week, and it helps us get through the week. And I appreciate that.
Definitely does. Today was a challenging one too. Today was a busy day,
It was a busy day.
but we were still ready to record.
Yes. No, every night you guys help me get through every day.
Kelnick, don't worry, he loves you.
That was awesome. Yeah, I was able to watch. I was able to catch the whole thing. Usually I have to like pop in and out, but I was able to catch the entire thing, and it was for a good cause.
Yeah, the other night we were all playing and we saw Burroughs hit his hype train and then shoot fire everywhere in his front yard. So we were playing Phasmophobia at the time, and we had to all just stop and watch what was happening. Watch what was unfolding in front of our eyes.
See if this. I thought he was gonna catch his beard on fire because at first he's putting it looked like hand sanitizer on his beard. I'm like, no, how much whiskey did he drink before I got on this stream? Like, what has happened? But no, he was putting.
We were all ghost hunting.
Amounts of KY jelly on his beard.
Yeah,
I've never seen that big of a thing of KY.
I'm just gonna let that sit there for a minute.
I mean, I haven't. She did seem very fast. She seemed very
I could see semi-concern happening there, because she was out there when the fire was happening. She was there. She was a part of it, but seemed concerned.
Yeah, that's fun.
But yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, Scott. We appreciate it.
She did have an extinguisher.
We love. I do think she had the extinguisher. She was gonna make sure he didn't catch himself on fire, if nothing else.
I was kidding, but I do live like an hour from him, so I was like, hey, I can be there in an hour. I can hold the extinguisher.
Yeah, no, we're really looking forward to. Hopefully, we'll get to go hang out at some point. I guess it's worth it for a level 5 hype train.
Yeah.
All right, let me check the order on all this stuff. I guess I can start recording so we can just have that taken care of.
I'm an Astroglide man myself.
The people needed to know that. No, because Kirk you couldn't see his face, but he was so uncomfortable the whole time I was talking with you about it. So I won't do it.
Yeah, we're not doing that one.
But now we all know.
I appreciate you not doing that one.
We'll put that on the socials. Or what we can do is once we get into the PDS plays part of the night, we can have a group discussion about it.
Oh, yay. Yay.
I think the G-Spots Discovery Show, I think, is a different show entirely. It's
that's more, the porn spinoff.
Yeah,
of our show,
it's more adult. That's an After Dark show right there.
Oh man!
And we would immediately lose anybody that was watching beforehand. There's no way that people would see our two faces and be like, "Oh, this is a show I want to see." There's no chance of that. There's no chance. But yeah, we're not going to talk about that until later, at least.
That's Twig's show. That's the one she hosts.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So Twigs, it's up to you to lead that discussion later on. When we're playing Overwatch or whatever, you can bring that up so everybody can be a part of it. All right, Kirk, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So G-Spots, did you know? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Welcome to the Other Discovery Show. It's the podcast that's not about podcasts. It's about all the other things we discovered throughout the week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach. And I discovered that NASA is about to have a live stream where you can check out them launching a new satellite. So I always just like tracking this because it's one of the benefits of the time we live in, where it's not like, oh, I need to go down to the Air Force Base or to like one of the NASA locations to see a launch. You can watch it live streamed because that's the new world. And
I've
NASA,
watched a few of these live stream now.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. They're doing it again from a Falcon 9 rocket, the SpaceX rocket. It's on Saturday, November 21st is when it's scheduled. So that's next Saturday, I think. And basically, they're launching a new satellite that essentially is just going to be another one that's in collaboration with NOAA that'll be looking at everything. But it's just another cool chance to see a rocket launch. But I saw this, and it made me think of like, you know what? What's going on with NOAA? Because we used to use NOAA all the time. And for anybody who doesn't know, that is essentially the government's weather. What would you call
That's what
that
all the
even?
farmers.
Department.
That's what all the farmers use.
Yeah, because
when there's a freeze coming, it's very accurate. It's not it's not privatized, so it has all
everything.
It's the giant network. There's stations everywhere. It's not just the Weather Channel's got stations here, here, here. It's the government stations that are all these government buildings and stuff. It's a very big network. So
yeah,
it's very
it stands
accurate.
for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and it is this year their 50-year anniversary. They've been going for 50 years now, and they honestly tie what they're doing to in 1807. Thomas Jefferson founded the U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey, so survey of the coast, to start charting the oceans, and then also start to like work with all that. And then because the interesting kind of thing about this is when you think about it, they're talking about the oceans and they're talking about the atmosphere, which don't necessarily seem linked, but for a really long time, they have been dedicated to both of those things because they're completely linked. And so in the end, some of those oceanic studying groups ended up leading to this. So it's just a cool thing that NOAA also turned 50 this year.
So it's a birthday announcement and,
a chance to watch
that's coming up.
A rocket shoot into the sky.
Awesome. Zach, have you ever seen a meat shower?
I don't think so.
Okay. I haven't either. A meat shower is exactly what it sounds like, but it turns out there's a pretty simple and likely explanation.
Wait, what does it sound like? Are you showering
it's a
the
shower
meat?
Of
or
meat.
Are you showering in the meat?
So here's the story. On a cool March day in Kentucky in 1876, hunks of meat rained down from the sky. And it's been reported in all these old newspapers from Kentucky. And there's actually a professor of Transylvania University, which apparently is in Lexington, Kentucky, but it sounds like it's, for vampires.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it's the vampire
It's
school
both.
in Kentucky. Kentucky vampires.
Kentucky Vampires. I would watch that movie. I'll be honest with you. I would watch that movie.
They're not dangerous because they don't have all their teeth.
Oh, that's the twist. They have to figure out how to survive with no teeth. Sorry for anyone from Kentucky.
I'm sorry.
We're joking. We're just joking.
It's a joke. But apparently he was on a show, a podcast actually. Let's take note of this one because it sounds interesting. He was on a podcast called episode of Motherboard. It's a podcast. Science Solved It.
Motherboard.
Science Solved It. I don't know if it's Motherboard or Science Solved It. Anyway, it sounds like a fascinating story. But in that, he said, in 1876, if you said, "Oh, it was a horse wagon full of meat," that was like saying now it's like a big gulp for McDonald's. So everybody knew exactly what that meant. So apparently, it was like a zeitgeist. Like everyone knew about this shower of meat that had fallen from the sky in Kentucky. And apparently it was like a lot, like not a little bit. It was like a lot, like it could fill up a wagon. That's what they say. It was a good bit of meat. And he's the expert in this meat shower.
Meat
Goad became
shower
interested-
expert, the best title you can give yourself.
Goad became interested in the meat showers after moving to Kentucky and picking up a book about local weather phenomena, which I have always been fascinated with, like crazy things that have happened, like ball lightning and stories about that. It's
yeah.
crazy. Like there's really cool stuff with weather, and you talk about Noah, there's crazy weather stuff. Shortly after, while going through the school's archives to photograph old portraits, he stumbled across an old jar with a small chunk of flesh floating in amber liquid. Based on his knowledge of the event and the dating of the jar, he was able to determine that it was a sample of that very meat shower. At the time of the meat rain, locals were puzzled about what could have caused
Meat
it.
rain.
They tried to determine what kind of meat it was, with guesses that ranged from mutton to bear meat, and some neighbors were even brave enough to eat it. Okay, if meat falls out of the sky and you don't know where it came from, don't eat it, guys. This is a PSA
I
from
mean,
the podcast
does
Discovery
it
Show.
need to be? Isn't it natural selection at that point? If you're eating sky meat, you're just rolling the dice.
He even has a quote. He says, "So meat falls from the sky, and apparently that's not alarming enough for them not to eat it." Goad says. But even after tasting it, the townspeople of Olympia Springs, where the meat fell, couldn't surmise how it happened. Samples like the one sent to Transylvania University were preserved and sent to scientists around the country, but before they got a chance to present their hypothesis, everyone kind of lost interest. So that's where Goad comes in hundreds of years later. And they do have a pretty gross but makes sense theory as to what it was. Basically, the theory is vultures, when they are eating, a dead animal, if they get scared off and sometimes they will eat till they're too heavy to fly very well, and they will literally make themselves vomit. So they're saying it was like a giant flock of vultures that apparently had eaten a ridiculous amount of meat, and something scared all of them at the same time, and it was just vulture vomit all over these people at this farm.
I guarantee they're not able to wrap their mind around that because they ate it. They're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." They don't want to know that it was vulture inside of a vulture.
His quote is, "It's not all like it was run through a meat slicer, so it was different sizes and it was torn to pieces. So it does make sense. And it also makes sense because the scientists who later looked at it under a microscope didn't venture any guess as to what animal it came from, but they noticed that there was cartilage and lung tissue. So it was like the insides of an animal as well, not just like flesh." So it's gross, but
That's pretty gross, yeah.
that's meat rain for you.
Honestly, the grossest part is that people just ate it.
Yeah, people are gross. People eat anything, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I have heard the story because in chat they're talking about maybe it was somebody blew up a cow. The one where they blew up that whale that beached
whale?
itself.
Yeah,
That's meat rain, or no, what do you call it? Meat shower.
meat
Because
shower.
they didn't know how to move the whale, so they put dynamite in it, but they didn't put enough, so all it did was shoot like 40-pound chunks of whale all over the place.
Surprised that they didn't freaking kill somebody.
It really is amazing. But whoever just came up with the idea, you know what? That thing's big. We need to get it out of here. Let's blow it up.
I'm sure you haven't watched The Boys season 2 this year, but
I have
there's
not seen season 2.
a crazy scene with a whale, and it's gross, and it's just like that. It's preposterous and gross, and you're just like, what the heck just happened?
I mean, that sounds like The Boys. Pretty
Yeah,
much all
it
of
is.
it.
Ah,
Yeah, that's I don't really know how I feel about knowing that, but I know it now.
yeah, Kelneck. We actually have talked about the frog rain one as well before, I believe.
What about
that was a
purple rain?
fascinating one. Purple rain.
Okay. Kirk, we have missed not one but 2 calls from Johnny.
I know. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I think that I heard the call on like a Monday night or a Saturday night. So it was like right after we recorded. I told Zach, and then I completely forgot. Until I think yesterday when I saw he called again. I was like, oh my gosh, we've already got a call from Johnny, and now he's called again.
Yeah. So, Johnny, we're sorry. It's time to play Johnny's calls. so everybody can hear him. So for anybody who doesn't know, Johnny is a regular on the Disco Hotline, which is our hotline that anybody can call and drop a discovery. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us whatever you want. And honestly, I'm just going to throw out the number right now. The number is 813-708-9118. So call us. Give us a call on the Disco Hotline. If you have a discovery, you can just drop it right there. You can also just say, hey, we'd love to hear from you. But yeah, we have a hotline, and you can just leave us a voicemail. And Johnny does
voicemail.
that.
We don't answer it, so it's easy. Just leave a voicemail, and we'll play it.
We could answer it, but it's not hooked up to either of our phones. So
True.
It's just...
we have it set up for voicemail.
Yeah, it's just doing voicemail. So here's call number 1.
Hey, boys, it's Johnny. Hey, how you doing? Oh, man, I'm so sorry. I've been really, really busy. Since this COVID and whatnot, I got laid off from my job. I used to be an entertainer. And, man, it's just been crazy lately. I got some work that picked up now that the bars are reopening. So I wanted to sing a little song of what I sing for my people, down at the bar and the club. So here we go. I hear the train a-coming. It's coming around the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since. I don't know when I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Time keeps dragging on. That's it right there, man. That's Johnny Cash. All right, well, hey, you guys, keep up the good work. I've been listening to the show, and, I heard that the salad dressing, you guys were talking about salad dressing a little while back, and I was just going to give you my little recipe for Johnny's Tip for the week. Yeah. All right, so here we go. Here it is, buddy. All right, so you put in just a little bit of vinegar. You can do any kind you want. You could do a little bit of balsamic or just a plain vinegar. It's delicious. And then you put in a little bit of spicy mustard. As your emulsifier, you got to emulsify. You know what I'm saying? Dak, I know you know what I'm talking about. I don't know about Kirk, though. He don't know nothing about the salad dressing. Anyway, put a little bit of that, and then you put a little bit of olive oil in there. Put a little bit of lemon. Squeeze that lemon real good. You know what I'm saying? And then you drop it in there, and then you give it a little shaky shake in a little container, and you are good to go. Simple and delicious. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace out.
So yeah, Johnny sang Johnny Cash for us.
Okay, if we get a takedown notice from Twitch because of Johnny's freaking phone call, he's saying Johnny Cash.
I mean, luckily they can't. I don't think they're going to be picking it up because I'm looking at the transcript here, and he said, "I used to be an entertainer," and here's how Google translated it: "I used to be attended penis and man."
The Google, okay.
No, but the next sentence is even better. It's just been pretty lazy and got some work that picked up now that the balls are reopening.
Oh, God, what is...
All of the transcript is
Google,
messed up.
get your mind out the gutter,
I know.
man.
So I'm hoping that because Google can't understand what he's saying, that whatever the algorithm is won't pick that up as Johnny Cash.
All right. And why is it that I don't know anything?
I don't know.
Everybody
I don't know
that
why
calls loves you, hates me, and I don't know anything.
I don't know why he's going at you about emulsifiers and salad dressings, but he is. So
I 1000% know what emulsifier means.
What? Yeah, I knew he did. What we need to do is we need just to have Kirk is going to do a tasty discovery next week where he makes salad dressing, and he can make Johnny's salad dressing.
It does sound tasty.
Okay, that was only one. Here's number
Johnny,
2.
take 2? Okay.
Johnny, take 2.
Hey, boys, it's Johnny again. Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, listen up. I was listening to the show last week. You guys were talking about the GBBO, Great British Bake Off, right? And, I was just saying I'm a big fan, big-time fan. And I really, I miss Mary Berry quite a bit. But I like Prue, the new judge. Anyway, I was just going to say that I do have another culinary tip. You guys were talking about making some ice cream. And I was just going to say that if you want to make some ice cream, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it right. you got to use some dextrose. You can't use table sugar because it will crystallize too quickly. You got to use dextrose. That's right. And then you can always put a little additive in there called guar gum, and it is a natural occurring substance found in plants, and it will help to thicken your ice cream. It is delicious and makes it real creamy. So that's all I got for today. I hope you guys are doing good. I miss you. I love you, Zach. Bye-bye.
So, okay.
Why only Zach?
Once again,
No one loves me.
Once again, I mean, this is just Johnny. But Johnny, Google cannot translate Johnny because, okay, he kept saying dextrose. But what we got in this is you got to use sex stroke.
What the
And then
heck,
also,
Google?
yeah, and then also, then you can always put a little additive in there. Welcome. And it's a natural occurring substance found in plants, and it will help you thicken your ice cream. It's delicious and makes it real curry me off. So yeah, there's no trying to translate Johnny. But yeah, thanks for calling in, Johnny. We appreciate it. It's great to have you calling in. And yeah, we hope anybody else that would like to call in, feel free to. And honestly, can I make a request? I need somebody to call in to our hotline and dedicate at least 20 to 30 seconds about how much you love Kirk. Like, it needs to be that exclusively, please.
No, don't.
No, it needs to be.
Then
we
I'm
need
gonna
that.
feel uncomfortable.
And that's honestly the best possible scenario. If it makes Kirk uncomfortable and you can call in, then it's a win-win. But yeah, we appreciate the calls. It's always great to hear from Johnny.
Can I go get my dog?
Yes. Go get the normie. He's very upset right now.
Yep.
So how's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, G-Spot Podcast is already going. They don't ever stop with them. No, and there's another one that will play next week that translated to Portuguese, but it is not in Portuguese. It is another one of our callers that likes to sing songs. He made us a theme song. You should do that, Twigs. Please do that, Scott. He's not even here right now to hear it. He would be surprised. You should do that.
What?
Nothing?
Oh, God.
All right, you got that edit?
I got the edit.
All right. So I just learned about a startup by Tim Berners-Lee. Do you know who that is?
It sounds familiar, but I can't.
He is the
place
inventor of the World Wide Web. So we'll get into that in a second. But
That's where I've heard the name. I heard
Yeah.
the name, and I was like, where did I heard that name?
yeah, he's famous in the internet stuff. But he has a new startup called Inrupt that wants to make it so that your personal data is not given to everyone on the internet, essentially. So they store your personal information separately they have their own type of thing. It's called pods. This is a whole new thing. So this is just kind of theoretical at this point, but pretty crazy. And what they have is an open source data storage technology called Solid. So any data you have is in a pod, and you put the pod in Solid. And then what you would do is you would choose when that data can be accessed. So it's essentially like medical records. You set your medical records up in this thing that is essentially encrypted and nobody can have access to unless they have built into this system. Then they can request access to your data and you can give it to them voluntarily. So he has this whole idea where he's trying to make it so that you have more control over how your data is used. And in the end, the reason this is kind of picking up is because it could move away from just bulk harvesting all the data in order to serve ads into something that's more specific. So everybody would be specifically requesting and using data on a need basis rather than just like bulk harvesting it like happens with Facebook or anything else. So it's essentially, in the end, Facebook ends up being the most effective marketing platform in the history of the world because they know everything about you and they can very, very targeted put ads in front of you. And so this is trying to move away from that. And the reason he's trying to do that is because this is the man who invented the World Wide Web. So I don't know kind of if you've looked into like the history of kind of how the internet formed, Kirk.
Mm-mm.
So it started out with just like a network that was created by like the military, and it was just they connected computers together for the military. So all
Almost
it was
like one-to-one email, right? Like
yeah, pretty much. They did not have the like for the lack of the better word, a web, a whole collection of everybody being on the network. It was like they wanted to prove the concept that you could connect it. And they did prove that. But then in, I believe it was 89. Okay, in 89, Tim Berners-Lee got upset because it was hard finding information stored on different computers. And so he wrote a memo that was just called Information Management, a Proposal. And then he started using the words like hypertext, hypermedia, World Wide Web. So in 1990, he built something called the World Wide Web, one word, which was a web of hypertext documents, which basically meant he wanted it so that you could type something into an address bar and go directly to something you're looking for. And that was his entire concept that literally made how we view the internet, because literally the www is the World Wide Web. It was originally supposed to be the specific address for what he was doing, because he was working with he was working at CERN. So like it was called www.cern.something. So it was that specific address, but it just took. And so people were like, oh, well, we need to have www on there. You don't have to have that anymore, obviously. You can do a lot of different things with domains. But that's how it all stuck. And so this is the man that's involved there. And I think that mainly he wanted to try to figure out how he could address some of the data issues that are happening right now. So it's just interesting to see kind of what he's up to, because he was so important to how we view the internet right now.
No, that's fascinating. I don't understand the pods thing. Like, so you explain it to me one more time. Like I'm 5 years old.
Yeah, well, okay. Basically, all it is, and Scott said in chat, everyone's data is spread everywhere. Yeah, it would have to be starting at a point. Anything you have on Facebook, it's already gone. That ship has sailed long ago. But essentially, you could start to categorize new data into little containers that are only accessible if you allow them to be, is what it is. And so, okay, if a doctor's office wanted to access your medical data, they would have to have a plug-in essentially for the storage side of it.
Compartments.
Yeah, and they would have to request it. It wouldn't just be like a free sale, just everybody take whatever you want. It's all fine. Because I think we've talked about it before, but it's not really something that we knew was going to happen. When the internet started and when everything started happening, people weren't concerned about like, okay, we need to set up like what part of a person's data is their personal ownership. How are we going to prevent people from just profiting off everybody's personal information like just wildly, because there's no regulation on it at all really right now. I mean, if you lose it, that's one thing, but most people, they essentially make you sign an EULA that says we're going to do whatever we want with your data, and then they sell it. That's the move right now. So
there we go. It's like pudding cups of info.
Yeah,
I get it
pretty
now.
much.
And now I understand.
Yeah, so if your doctor wants a pudding cup, they have to ask you for it, and then you get to give it to them.
Yeah, so the solid that you were saying is your lunchbox.
Yes.
And the pudding cup is the information.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
And so then if your doctor wanted to get your pudding cup, they would have to go ask your lunchbox.
I got it.
Perfect. But yeah, no, it's just cool to see what somebody who was so important to the internet was currently involved in. He's very, very interested It's I don't know. It's just one of those things where there's like some legendary stuff on the internet, and it's just interesting to see how it progresses. Okay, I'll throw it out there, Kirk. You might want to cut it because it's kind of like hot takey. Not really though, but it's very controversial. So I read an AMA the other day by the founder of Anonymous, the very famous hacktivist group, and he is coming out of retirement because he is going to try and take down QAnon. And it's like the wrestling match from the internet of destiny, because you have Anonymous going after QAnon, and I read his AMA where he was talking about all this, and I was just like, you could not have made anything that's more like internet drama possible. And I just thought,
it sounds fascinating.
oh yeah, no, I will be watching what's happening here, and there will be podcasts made no matter what
I really
happens.
hope Q is an actual person, and I hope that it's somebody that we all know, and it's some super idiot person.
Carrot Top.
That's yeah.
If it was Carrot Top, no one would see that coming ever.
It's been Rosie O'Donnell all along.
The Rosie O'Donnell. What is she up to these days? Who knows?
I don't know. It would not be Rosie O'Donnell because there's been too much Q stuff that's in favor of Trump.
But yeah, you
They
can
don't like
you
each
can
other.
cut that if you want. But I did read that AMA, and it's really interesting to just see Anonymous trying to go after QAnon. It's like two internet heavy
It's
hitters.
Fascinating. Okay, so I found. I wish that I would have found this one sooner or thought about it. I've heard this story before, but I just popped up on my radar again. It's very spooky, it's very creepy, and it also is a Florida man. So I have a Florida man story for you guys. It might be a little bit long because it's such a crazy story. It's about the guy named Carl Tanzler and his obsession with Elena Hoyes, and how he took his love for her just a little bit too far. True love, or at least true obsession, conquers all. In this case, it even conquered death. In 1933, Carl Tanzler was so head over heels for 21-year-old Elena de Hoyes that after she passed away, he stole her body and took it home, where he lived with the young woman's mummified corpse for the next several years. Tanzler would have continued his sick ruse until the end of his life, but he was caught in dramatic fashion by her sister, leading to one of the strangest cases of grave robbing and necrophilia of the 20th century.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I listened to that Florida Man on Florida Man show, and they talked about this one. It's just an insane story, and it went to court, and there was all this. And if you look at the pictures, like literally, he just looks like a nice old man. And way down at they show a picture of her.
Wait, before she died?
Before she died.
Thank God.
No. But then they have a picture of the mummified corpse, and it is a thing of nightmares. It looks like he put like a rubber mask on it, and it looks almost like,
oh my God, this is
Halloween.
horrible.
Are you looking at it? It's
no,
terrifying.
I'm not looking at it.
You need to look at it.
All right,
look at
fine.
it. Did you look at it? Look at it. It's just a crazy story about how
When
this
was
dude
this?
was
33?
This was in the 30s. Yeah, in the 30s in Key West. I'll give a little bit of tidbits of the story. So the German-born radiologist came to Key West, Florida after leaving his wife and children in 1926. Once in Florida, he presented himself as a count and claimed to be a former submarine captain who moonlighted as an inventor. I'm a count. I used to be a submarine captain, and now I'm an inventor by night. The next year, he took a job as a radiologist at the United States Marine Hospital. Tanzler kept to himself, but when he met a patient named Elena de Hoyes, he came out of his shell. Supposedly, Tanzler had been dreaming of a woman with dark hair, and Hoyes fit the bill. He was immediately enamored with the young woman, and he continued to lavish attention on her as she grew more and more ill. And apparently she passed away of tuberculosis. And it's just this crazy story. And at first her family was like, oh, he's so thoughtful and he cares about her. And he used to go to her grave every day. And the family's like, oh, he's just so broken that she passed away, and it's so sad. And then all of a sudden, he stopped going to the grave, and they're like, that's kind of weird. He went every single day, and now he doesn't go at all, like not even once. It's because she wasn't in there anymore. He was in her freaking house. Oh, it's such a weird story.
This is
man.
horrifying on a level I was not expecting.
And they said he was observed dancing with the body, like he would dance with it, like around the house.
Okay, this guy was not right. Like
no,
this guy
he's
was
not
right.
for sure. Oh,
And okay, just beware looking at that link because it's horrifying. It does not get better. Yeah, he does just look like a little old German man, but that mask thing.
it's terrifying. Like I said, this would have been much better during Halloween.
Yeah. No, that's all over the place. That's craziness.
Yeah, it says they discovered that Tansler hadn't just rebuilt Hoyo's body until she was more doll than woman. He'd also inserted. Never mind. I can't read that part. It's crazy. It's a crazy story, guys.
Yeah,
And
you're not wrong.
It's a Florida man story. Welcome to Florida.
That's terrible. Okay,
Cool.
I'm going to change the topic now. I read about a Japanese town that deploys growling monster wolf robots to scare away wild bears. So if anybody needs a little eye bleach after looking at that disturbing body thing, this is robot wolves.
Okay, I gotta look at this because now I need to get that out of my
A
brain.
town in northern Japan has recently been plagued by a plethora of wild bears, roaming around neighborhoods and petrifying residents. In an attempt to prevent attacks, the town of Takikawa has now installed terrifying robotic wolves to howl at the bears and scare them off. So what they have is essentially
How is this better? I mean, it's better and
No,
not.
'cause
It's just- these are terrifying.
Yeah, but that won't actually kill you. It's not a bear.
it's so scary.
Yeah, so it looks like a Halloween prop of a wolf that's on top of a bunch of megaphones, and it apparently will yell at you. It'll like growl, and they'll howl at you, and they'll flash lights in their eyes. So yeah, for little kids, there's no winning for the little kids in Japan. They're going to be having nightmares no matter what. But essentially, they
This is how the chupacabra goes to Japan. This is what happens now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, they're motion activated, and the idea is because and they think that essentially the bear attacks are happening due to a shortage of food, and like it's just they've been approaching cities to try and find food. And so these monster wolves, these robotic wolves, as soon as the motion detector goes off, they start making 60 different horrifying sounds, including howls. And
Have you listened to it yet?
I have not, and I'm not going to do it right
think
now
I'm fixing
because
to listen to it.
then we're going to hit our. We can't do it on Twitch,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we linked it. But the company behind the machine said that it sold nearly 70 of them since 2018, and they're in various locations around Japan to protect crops and neighborhoods from wild animals. So it's a perfect solution. You build horrifying robot wolves to scare away the bears.
I just listened to it. It's so scary. So scary. This looks like something from like Halloween Horror Nights or something. Oh man. So wolves are that? I mean, bears are that scared of wolves?
I think it's more
That's
like,
what I
what
mean.
is this robot demon that's yelling at me? I don't think it's like, oh, that's
I
a
guess they're
wolf.
just scared of
Yeah,
demon
they're scared of
monsters.
whatever that thing is. I don't think it's like, oh, there's a dog over there. It's like, oh, what is that thing? Robot demon with glowing eyes yelling at
I
me.
mean, I don't think there's anything that wouldn't be scared of that in the middle of the night. Oh God, those noises are horrible. It's got like a strobe light tail. It's got bright red eyes.
Yeah, they wanted to make it's just a robot to scare bears away. The fact that it's a wolf doesn't mean it's extremely wolf-like.
It's gonna give children PTSD.
It is. But you just tell the children, look, it's not real. It can't hurt you. But the bears can.
You've got to listen to that. It's
Oh,
so
I
good.
will. Just not right now because it will play it over the stream.
Oh man. All right. Well, those were some creepy, funny, and great discoveries we had this week.
I know which one was creepy.
I'll take the I'll take the bullet on that one. It was creepy. It was a creepy one. How do we end this thing?
I was about to say, are you going to end this or
I
do
thought
need-
you were gonna pull me out of this ditch that I was.
I mean,
digging.
you were still talking, so I wasn't going to do it while you were doing it. So yeah, we
need
had
a tagline at the end of freaking Tots.
we don't.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't. We could just be like, well, thanks so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
There you go. Just that easy.
No, it's not that easy. I think they should just put a guy in a Godzilla suit out there. What we learned that Godzilla is a citizen of Japan.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just threw it out randomly to make you less uncomfortable about the G spots.
Damn it! Why are we there again? How did we get here again?
Kelneck, ask about it later. And by later, I mean in about 5 minutes, because it is now
Don't.
time for us to shift over to
What are we playing
PDS
tonight?
Plays. What?
What are we gonna play tonight?
I don't know. What does everybody want to play tonight? I see Bunny Cat in the chat, and I know where she's thinking. We got Kelnack and Twigs. We can go send out the alert and see what happens.
Because I've got all the games now. I've got so many games.
Yeah, we'll have to see where it leads. But yeah, we
All right.
will. I guess probably like a 2-minute. Kirk, if you want to go
It'll
ahead
be
and
a
start.
little bit longer. Maybe closer to 5.
But go ahead and start right now. Trying to set up
Okay.
your stuff. I tried to add enough things so that it would be a little bit easier for you. Let me see if I have another one of these questions that I can ask chat while you're setting up.
All right, I can close some of these things.
Oh, you know what I should do? I should bring that question back for some other people. So our question today is, what is something you're proud of but never get a chance to talk about? And I see Scott in here. I'd love to know what you think. What's something you're proud of but you never get to talk about? Bunny Cat, same for you. Kelnack, get in. But yeah, no, we just thought it was a fun thing because every once in a while there is something where you're proud of it but you don't really get that opportunity. Well, we want to know. We want to know what you're proud of so we can be proud of you too. All right, I'm gonna get rid of
Twig
all
showed
these.
her. Did you see Twig's art? on the
Oh
Discord?
no, it's in Discord, right?
Thing looks
Ooh,
like a freaking photo. That's a pencil drawing, you said?
that's amazing.
Wow. That is. Yep. It's
Yeah, that's awesome.
hard for me to wrap my mind around.
How long
but
did it take
that's-
you to draw
Right.
that with pencil? If it's 20 square feet.
Oh yeah, I forgot how big it was too. How you do this?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was 17. Is that the answer?
Yeah.
So many pencils. All right. Well, I have it pulled up, my Streamlabs.
You're mostly ready?
So
Don't
I
start it
guess-
yet. Don't.
The starting soon starts the music, right?
Yeah, you might have to go in there and just click like restart the music type thing. You know what I mean? So like when you click on it, you can do like loop or like activate when it becomes like available.
Which one is it? What is it called? Is it the one that says Pod 6?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was. I did a Pod 6 one on there once. I'm not renaming it every time.
So do I need to open that audio, the one that says Pod 6 on the right side for it to work?
Yes, you will need to open that. All right, everybody, we're gonna go.
We're just
Be right
figuring this out real
back.
quick.
And as soon as this stream drops down, you can pretty much hit refresh, and we're going to be back ready to play some video games. We hope you join us. Thanks so much for checking out the stream. And if you'd like to watch us play some games, that's coming up right now. Thank you so much. Wait, hold on. Scott is proud of performing weddings for couples. Yeah,
What
no,
do you
that's awesome.
perform?
That's great. So they have you, what do they call that? Officiate. Right? Officiate a wedding?
I don't know. Is it officiating or is he a wedding singer?
Oh, wedding singer? Okay.
Yeah, he does a lot of things. We've learned he's a multifaceted man.
Yes, he is. Okay. we're going to be right back. We're going to continue this conversation because Kelneck and Bunny Cat didn't respond, and we're going to find out together.
Wait.
Oh, you're a minister? Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
That's awesome.
Okay, we will be right back. Thanks for checking out the stream. Hang on, and we'll be back.
1, 2.